This could be the biggest case study in history.
We were doing about 2K a day in September throughout the whole year, averaging that much. And we just did 160K yesterday.
And this is obviously not Black Friday. You are consistently right now doing over 150K a day.
All the ads that I launched, none of them were turning into winners. It's like a 3-month phase with no winners, which is just straight up depressing.
And you were basically saying like, I've had this brand for a while, used to do really well, and now it's like, we were talking about pivoting. It was about a month later. They're like, oh yeah, we just hit a 30K day. And I was like, wait, what brand? It's like, I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean you hit a 30K day?
We did learnings on one of our ads and we found like an angle from there, and we created a hypothesis, like a test idea basically, that I think this is working because of this. Before we know it, that same angle has boosted us from that 25K a day to now 160K a day, which is like insane.
7 batches a week and you scale to 160K a day.
Like I said, it's just me and one editor in the creative department. He's just stacking bonuses right now. I had a call with you and you were just like, bro, what the hell's going on here?
You're at 2K days. You started then this March up to 160K days. What was kind of happening in those early phases? Go fam, brother, what's up, man?
I'm doing good now. What about yourself?
Dude, I am so excited for today.
Yeah.
Obviously we were just chatting before this, but I think what you've accomplished, actually, I'm going to say this, and I didn't tell you this off camera, but like this could be the biggest like case study in history. Like what you've accomplished in the last 30 days even before Black Friday is something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, bro. So I cannot wait to get into that today. But before I butcher an intro, give me an intro of yourself, bro. Who are you? How long you been in eCom? Take me through it, bro. What's a little bit of your story?
Yeah, so I'm Gotham. Been in eCom for 5 years now, so I'm 25 at the moment. So yeah, I started eCom like 5 years ago. Went straight into a mentorship. So I didn't do like the classical route, watching YouTube videos, because I thought like having gone through a mentorship, it would sort of shortcut that a bit. So I went straight through a mentorship that helped propel it further. And yeah, but it's, like we've had ups and downs, and recently, like I think we're cracking it at the moment. Sure.
You cracked it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, like just to give numbers, bro, where were you at in
Yeah.
September? And then what did you just do yesterday?
Okay, so we were doing about 2K a day in September, and like throughout the whole year, averaging that much. And we just did 160K yesterday. We've been, I think, like every day is like a new record, like 150K the day before. I think I shared a screenshot of like 100K, like just like 3 or 4 days ago or something like that.
And now you've scaled to 160.
160, and it's on track to do more today.
So like just to because like honestly, man, my question is like, what the fuck happened, bro? Like that, and like obviously that's a broad question, but like obviously we're gonna get into some of the specifics, but dude, you literally 100x'd basically is what you did in a span of like 30 days. Like so and this is obviously not Black Friday, right? Like I think some people maybe if they like 3 or 4x for Black Friday, they'd be pumped. But like you are consistently right now doing over 150K a day. And I think you mentioned that you are actually capped right now. Like what? So I guess maybe to get into like some of, because I think everybody sees like, oh my gosh, 150K a day. Like obviously that's insane, man. Like you're an animal, but to understand like what are you dealing with, because I think that's maybe a good first place to go, and then we're gonna get into the strategy on that kind of stuff. But like what is actually, because you said you could probably scale further, and you mentioned your ROAS. I'm gonna throw it out there. You were at a 2.9x yesterday at 150K a day, so you're not running MRR, you're just ripping. So what is actually happening on the back end, because you mentioned you're kind of capped by some stuff right now. So real talk, what is some stuff that you were dealing with at this kind of scale?
Yeah, so one of the biggest is honestly customer service, because we're trying to build like a branded experience, like we're not drop shipping. And I think that's the way to do it, because long term you don't want your payment processes to burn, and with the new Facebook update as well, like they're taking more into consideration that customer feedback score into the algorithm. So, and you can't even see that, you have to have a rep to see that, and it's just like I think brand experience is so important. So we're focusing on hiring more CX staff, having a CX lead, because just the tickets are just piling up and up and up. I think 2 of the days it was me, and I've got 2 partners as well, Zag and Ishi. We were all 3 of us were just sitting there, just answering tickets. And I just want to go there and actually do marketing and create ads. And we're just sitting there just answering tickets. Literally, like, I think we started at like 6 o'clock in the morning and we finished at like 4 o'clock at the night, just answering tickets. And it was still there was still loads. We was literally in this cycle where we didn't have time to hire someone, and we were just sitting there answering chickens. So that was one thing, and we've sort of like hired a CX lead and some more CX staff, and we're training them up now. And the other thing is stock. So getting stock fast enough. So we have a warehouse in US, but that stock got depleted in like half a day. Right, so we're having to use like sort of a China warehouse, but we write everything transparently. I think that's one of the key things as well, that you want to tell customers as well, like not hide the shipping times and stuff like that. So we tell them that it's, we're experiencing a ton of high demand right now, and it's going to take an extra week to ship. Sorted out some deals with suppliers, and we got 180-day payment terms now as well.
Insane. Well, I mean, bro, like let's first of all, what I think is so cool is like you just do ecom the right way. And I think right now you're not just obviously you're focused on making money. Like you are making an absurd amount of money. You know what I mean? And the point is though is like you're not sacrificing the long term. And like I said, like this is happening before Black Friday and everything. So a lot of people wouldn't be doing what you're doing. You wouldn't be, maybe they would just keep cranking budget, and they're not thinking about like, oh, my I could completely destroy my brand if I don't, do something about this, right? If I don't handle my customer service, if I don't handle my stock situation, and more importantly, if I don't transparently communicate upfront. And what I love about like this as well is like you've also in a way, I'm assuming maybe even improved your conversion rate in a weird way by just telling people like we're experiencing crazy demand right now. Like, we're sorry, like this is gonna take an extra week. And like a lot of people I think are scared to do that. But if that is true and it is authentic, then, it's like it's if anything, that might actually improve your conversion rate. I'm sure it's affecting it in some ways, but, what you just said there, you just kind of like dropped a a mini bomb, bro. You negotiated 180-day terms. So just for people that maybe don't understand like what that is, but more importantly for the people that do understand. So one, what is that? And then two, how did you do that?
Got it, got it. Yeah, so definitely, I think so. Payment terms are basically usually what you do with when you order stock is that sometimes you pay a deposit before production and the rest before it ships off, right? So that maybe 30% deposit, 70% when it ships off. Now, the thing with that is like it can be okay with small scale, but if you want to start scaling up, you don't want to tie your cash in inventory, right? Because you want to spend that cash in marketing and start growing the brand. So what payment terms is and how our payment terms works is it's 180 days after delivery. So before we actually had 60 days and that was like crazy good. Now we got 180. So that's no matter where it goes. So if we're shipping to US, it takes 45 days to get to US. That 180-day payment terms starts when it lands in US and inside of our warehouse. So pretty much we ordered stock like for example this month we pay in April basically. So if we can sell the stock all the way in April.
Not to interrupt you, but how much was that? So if you had to pay that up front, how much would it that? Are you okay sharing that? How much would that would have?
Oh, yeah, it would have been six figures. Yeah, yeah, six figures of inventory. Yeah, and the thing is that it's super helpful because right now, even like suppliers, like they can't keep up with the demand, so we're actually using two suppliers at the same time, and it just helps a lot with the payment terms. I think that's one of the reasons we're able to grow a lot quicker than other brands. And I think it all comes down to negotiating. I wouldn't take credit for it because it's my partner Zag that did all the negotiating, and he pretty much like he's a genius at this. But basically, what we do is you need to have two suppliers. You can't negotiate when you have one, right? So you find two suppliers, you get the price from one, and you say, okay, this person's giving me this price, I'm going to go with them. And basically, you just go back and forth, and eventually you'll find one that like really lowers the price. Now, you don't want to lower the price or the payment terms. No, payment terms is okay, but you don't want to lower the price too much because that will also affect quality as well. But you got to make sure the quality is the same as well.
All right, because I know everybody's probably wondering, again, what I said, what happened. So you were at 2K days, and I'm gonna share a little bit of like what happened, and I know we talked about this on call, but I remember we chatted. I think what was it? Was it in August or something like
Yeah, I
that?
think it's
I think
August.
it was
Yeah.
August, and I remember that we jumped on and we were just discussing, and you were basically saying like, you know what, bro, like I've had this brand for a while, and it used to do really well, and now it's like, I don't really know. And you were talking about pivoting, right? Which I think a lot of brands do, and a lot of times I do think like pivoting can make sense, especially if you've really like tapped things out. But even just like based on the type of person that you are, you mentioned you decided to jump straight into a mentorship. You didn't even do YouTube videos. You're like, screw it, I'm gonna jump straight in. My point is like you just got a second opinion. And then all of a sudden, I get a message from you literally like it was about a month later or, a month and a half later. They're like, "Oh yeah, we just hit a 30K day." And I was like, "What wait, with what brand?" I was it's like I was so confused. I was like, "What do you mean you hit a 30K day? Like you were just doing two." He's like, "Oh yeah, no, with the brand. Yeah, we figured it out."
Yeah.
So like just for people that have context, like you were almost ready to pivot away from this brand. So what I wanted to ask you with this is like, what kind of happened? What transition, what clicked? Because you had this brand, and I think this is relatable to a lot of people. So I really want to like emphasize this point that it was going well, things were going great, and then it just started dying down. And like you just, you weren't really sure, like, the strategies that you're using before weren't working. So if you can, maybe try to walk me through. Obviously, I'm going to ask some follow-up questions around your pre-landers and ad angles and creatives and all that kind of stuff. But what really kind of happened, if you can maybe go back to, okay, you're at 2K days, you started then this March up to 160K days. What was kind of happening in those early phases?
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, we was at 2K days for a while, and it was stagnant, and it was like to the point where it was like, is it the product? Is it the market? Like, is it the ad? Because all the ads that I launched, we couldn't like none of them were turning into winners, right? I think we had like it was like a 3 month phase with no winners, which is just straight up depressing and like crazy because we were still like running the old winners and they was dying down and like obviously 2K a day we wasn't doing that much scale. So then obviously I had a call with you. We was like I said, we was pivoting to a new brand, completely different thing that I've never even done. Right, completely different niche. And then we was I had a call with you, and you were just like, "Bro, what the hell's going on here? It's just so confusing." And because I come from like I was so into like direct response and like the super like ugly looking landing pages and VSLs and all that kind of stuff. So I completely forgot about the brand, right? And the whole branded approach. Simplicity is always best. So then that was the main thing that you told me. Like, where's the product? There's no product image at the top. Right, it was like proper a problem, and going deep into the problem, and twisting the knife. So that's basically what we did. We made the landing page a lot simpler. My brother Zag actually did that. He's a director at audit, so that was like super helpful. So they do a lot of CRO stuff. So I was like a super good thing. So he did that. He made the page simpler, and then so our conversion rate back then was like a 0.8 to 1%, so 0.8 to 1%. That boosted it up to like a 2.5%. So that's already massive in itself. And now we were able to get a lot more winners. But what we did next was we added a listicle in front of it, and we actually took inspiration from the listicle that we saw. So we added a listicle in front of it, and that actually boosted the conversion rate even more. So now we're at like a 3.5 to 4% conversion rate, and like 4.5 with a over $100 AOV as well. Landing pages, like a lot of people think that the offer page, like the product page, doesn't make much of a difference, but it's a huge difference. Like 1 to 2.5%, that's like massive. And then adding a listicle in front of it. Now I'm not saying it's just listicles that would work, but having a like something in front of it really helped it for us. So, and they were like super branded as well. So none of that ugly style that we was running before, super branded, and that really helped because people I think really bought into the brand then as well.
Yeah, 100%. So you cleaned up the landing page, the first page, and then you obviously optimized a listicle in front. And now I think, and you would probably agree with this, it's like that wasn't really the only thing that happened because we're gonna get into some more stuff. But the main thing is like you cleaned up your funnel. And at the end of the day, you were overcomplicating things. Things were all over the place. And so you cleaned things up and you just made it easier for someone to see, because you have an incredible, you have a great product, you have an incredible product, and people could just see like, oh, I get it, right? You're almost like hiding it before, and I remember saying that. So you did that, you cleaned that up, and obviously, I mean, that is nothing to scoff at. I mean, a 0.8 to a 4% conversion rate is absurd. And for the people that are like trying to do the math, I'm going to get in some technical terms here, and then I'm going to come back to the ad side, the front end of what you did. I mean, basically, that took your revenue per session from 80 cents, because if you have $100 AOV and a 0.8% conversion rate, we times those together to get revenue per session, right? So your revenue per session is 80 cents. And so what that means is if your cost per click is over that, like, one, you're getting absolutely rinsed. And if it's below that, then obviously, you got to have a really good like cost per click, but still with intent sort of ad, like a 40 cent cost for something crazy like that, right? Especially in, the US. And so when you get, a bump to a 4% conversion rate, all of a sudden that takes your revenue per session to $4, right? So now even if you have a dollar cost per click or a $1.50 cost per click, that spread is humongous. And so now you're just making so much more money. And guess what? When you're making a lot more money and you're more profitable, you can scale, right? So I think there definitely is a ton of emphasis. And I think just doing what you did to go through and again, most importantly, take action on cleaning things up and simplifying things, I think is insane. And so the fact that you were able to get such a big lift is crazy just from really putting your focus into the things that again that matter. You know, you weren't trying to figure out a new media buying strategy. You just looked at the funnel and you're like, this needs to be way better. So we cleaned up the funnel. What was kind of like, or we, you cleaned up the funnel. What was the next thing that you did? Because I know we were talking about this again, like some of the angles that you were tapping into and some of the ads. So from a creative standpoint, you mentioned briefly there, you started finding a lot more winners. And this is something that I love. And I know this is supposed to be you talking, not me, is that when you were able to kind of dial in your funnel, all of a sudden it probably felt like it was easier to find winners,
Yeah,
right? So,
way
so
easier.
take,
Yeah.
take me through that.
Yeah, because the just like the conversion rate is so much higher, and without AOV, even like I said, 3 months with no winners, and we're now like hitting winners. Like we have like a 50% winning rate at the moment, which is nuts. Like it's probably even higher. I look at it like I just noticed an ad yesterday. So did the top spender, and I'm like, and like I said, we're capped on budget right now, so we could literally increase the budget as well. So I think that just made it a lot easier with the increased conversion rate for sure. And because we're able to scale so much, I think one of the other things that people don't really talk about is that because you get so much more social proof in your comments, obviously you want your CX team to hide any negatives or answer them and stuff like that. But because there's a lot more like positive comments on our post-purchase survey, a lot of people are saying like, I only bought because there was so many positive comments and all that kind of stuff. So because we're getting so many impressions and so many comments a day, that also helped build the brand in like a better way, in a way, because that increased conversion rate because there's more social proof. And these are actual social proof. It's not me buying comments and stuff like that, because you can tell they're a bit fake, but these are like actual customers.
Imagine actually giving a good customer
Yeah.
experience. You know, imagine that in eCom nowadays. What was, I guess, so when did you kind of hit? So you cleaned up the funnel. What would you say like the funnel kind of got you to? So you're at 2K per day. You cleaned up the page, and maybe you didn't put the list goal in front. By cleaning up the page, what did you maybe get to per day in sales from just doing that?
Yeah, so we went from 2K per day, and I think that was the day that we hit about 20. We started doing 25K a day from that, because we were able to find a ton more winners from that. And then this is something I never did before, right? Going into creators a bit now. I never did learnings because like it's just so weird and uncomfortable to me. Like what do I do? I think a lot of people do have that same thing as me, and I still have it right till this day. Like I'm thinking, okay, why is this winning? It's not, that's too surface level. They need to go deeper and stuff like that. But honestly, that we did learnings on one of our ads, and we found like an angle from there, and we created a hypothesis, like a test idea, basically, that I think this is working because of this, and we tested that, and another winning ad from there. And we tested that same thing again in another ad, a new script, another winning ad. And then we was like, before we know it, that same angle has boosted us from that 25K a day to now like 160K a day, which is like insane from just learnings on one ad. And now I'm like, I'm a big believer in learnings now. Before I was like, before my philosophy, right, was like just launch as many stuff as you can, ads, hire all the editors, have a big team, because you don't know what works in Facebook, right? You won't know, and just launch as many, like just throw poop at the wall, basically. But now through Evolve, my mindset sort of shifted more to quality than quantity. But I think I'm at the stage now where I also need to focus on quantity as well. Sure.
100%. So, dude, it's like I paid you to say this or something, dude. I swear I did. Okay, so people that don't like, what are learnings? So we say learnings. I mean, what like so like what does that mean? I think you kind of touched on it, but just to be very clear, like when you say I did learnings, what does that mean?
So basically, it doesn't matter if it's a winning or losing ad. It's best if you do as many ads as you can. So you look at your ad and you see, okay, why did this work or why did this not work? Okay, and then it doesn't matter what you come out with it, right? You might think it worked because of that, and that might be wrong. But at the end of the day, you test it and you find out is wrong, and then some things you find out is right. I think that's one of the main things that people, they want to get it right first time, and I don't think that's gonna happen. You get better over time, like you mentioned as well at the start, you and Sean used to do it, right? And like it wasn't the best, but now you got better over time. I think I'm still like trying to improve that craft for sure. I think over time, like for example, we found that one angle. Now we know, okay, that sort of angle works, and that's in my like winning learnings stock, right? And now we test another learnings based on one of our other winning ads or losing ads or stuff like that, and then coming out with test. I think the main thing of learnings is just coming out with ideas to test. That's the way I think of it.
100%. That is the goal. It's like you do learnings is like, okay, what did I do here? And it's so funny. It's like I'm sure now to you, it sounds so obvious. And you're like, why was I not looking at my ads before? Like it is, but it's like the power of that. And here's what I would say is because you are legitimate proof of this, of like, okay, you did learnings. And yes, it was uncomfortable. You're like, I don't know why this is working. I like whatever, like, I'm just gonna go make more ads, you know what I mean? Like, that's how a lot of people feel, but, like, you just kinda have to push through that awkward phase of, like, I don't know. Like, you might just stare at an ad for 10 minutes and be like, "It's a video." Like, that's why it's working, but, like, until you kind of just show up and keep looking and try to, apply some of the things that you learn, and all of a sudden now, like you said, your first couple of hypotheses or, guesses, because that's what they are. They're educated guesses of why something is working. Your first couple might flop, right? But then what I want to say with this point is like when you actually do guess right, then it's like, oh, hold on a minute here. That actually worked. Wait, let me try that again. Another one. Let me try that again. Another one. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, and that's how like, and it's funny because like obviously I'm blown away at what you've accomplished, but at the same time I'm like, well, he found something that works and he just doubled down on it, and now all of a sudden it's like boom, like like people underestimate how fast you can scale when again you figure out why something works. And I say this all the time, and like I'm pretty sure some dude like commented on one of my YouTube shorts recently, was like, "No shit, bro, you got to figure out what stuff works." And I was like, "Exactly," but it's like it's way easier said than done. But when you do figure it out, it's like the floodgates just open. And it feels like you just can't miss. And so, but one thing that I really want to comment on is like this was a new angle that you found out why it was working, right? We don't need to get into the angle specifically, but I guess my point is like, so you were kind of testing new angles before you found it. Is that
Oh
is that
yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we was going through like research and post purchase surveys, and the angle was like it was different. It was more like an authority figure that we sort of used. So it's kind of it's an angle in a way, but that is like that we found through that winning ad, and then like you says, we found that we created a hypothesis, and now we launched that again, and it's a new winner. It's a new, and that's one of the reasons why it says that we launch like a new ad every day. For example, a new batch of ads, and like there's a high likelihood that it's going to take the top spender. It takes it 2-3 days for it to become the top spender, but it just takes the top spender, which is crazy.
And how fun
Like
is that, bro?
yeah. Oh yeah, it's nuts, and it's fun because it's more exciting when you're limited by the budget and not by your ads, right? Because you can just scale up, and you just need to fix those other issues in the back end.
That's the biggest flex, bro. You're limited by your by your back end, not by your ads. I just think that it's just so awesome, man. And it's stuff that I think when you see it happen in real time, like for you, it's just like it's this. I love it because it's just such a positive flywheel. Like you're just always going to keep reviewing ads to figure out why it's working, and it just becomes fun. You know what I mean? And it literally feels like you're beating the game because like you're not supposed to know, right? Like the mindset that you have before is like, oh, only meta knows. I'll never know. But like when you actually do crack it, it's just it's so cool, man. I want to take one little step back because I think what a lot of people do, and I want to get your take on this. This is just a question of like, you had ads that did well, right? And I'm sure that you processed learnings on them before, but what it really was you like you mentioned testing angles, like new angles, and then or like again, new approaches, and then you process learnings on those new ones that then led to the big winners. Is that correct?
Yep, yep, the new ones.
And so my point with this is like I feel like you were potentially in this because I think a lot of people get in this rut of like iteration overload on ads that are like actually not truly winning. And so what are your thoughts on that? Because like did you consider some of the learnings from your previous top performing ads as well? Or what was that? What did that look like?
Yeah, yeah, we were like that rut that we had where we were just like not hitting any winning ads. We were doing iterations on those ads. We were literally using the same script and like different clips, and it just comes to the point where like you're just beating a dead horse, like nothing's changing. And so once we did, I don't think this ad that we had right that we took the learnings from, it wasn't even like a massive winner, right? It didn't unlock a ton of skill. But from that, like when we created a better script around that, the learnings that we had, that's what like truly unlocked the scale for us. And the way we did the learnings was I did manual learnings myself, and I also used Gemini as well to help process the learnings, because I think at the start it really helps using Gemini and tools like that, because they're able to read videos. So that really helped as well. But you gotta be careful with Gemini. If you give it a losing ad, it still thinks it's a winning ad. Like this is why it's winning.
That's some sauce. So basically you said you had an ad that was like getting like it was probably getting some spend, right?
Yeah.
So getting some spend, you then saw like, oh, like I'm gonna do some learnings on this. And I love that because so here's how I've kind of started defining this is, when you're testing new angles, if you ask me, all you're looking for is a direction, right? Like you're looking for a direction to go in. And so you tested these ads and then you saw like, I'm like, this is getting some spend. Let me click into it because the truth is, and I'm gonna get into like how many ads you're launching, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna ask you some questions about that in a second. But the truth is like sometimes it's hard to review every single ad that you make. If you can, amazing. But sometimes it's hard to. But if you see an ad with like a little bit of potential, let's say, okay, let me do some learnings on that. And then the sauce is, upload it into Gemini. Be like, hey, this is, give us some cause. This is kind of getting some spend. Why do we think this is working? Oh, I think it's working because boom, 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 boom. And you're like, huh. And that's what I love about AI is like AI is just really good for like I think covering our human blind spots of like what we might miss. And then you're like, "Oh, you know what? That actually does make sense. Let me try that." And then that thing is what then led to the big scale. For you specifically, did you cuz like you said, you just made a better script. So was that kind of like the first iteration? You're like, "Oh, this is I could see how this could be an angle, but I can make this way better." Is that kind of what you did?
Yeah, exactly. It was like a first iteration on that. And going back to that Gemini point, you have to, I think, say, because usually with AI tools, you just go super surface level. Like this hook is great because it's like clickbaity, but that is not like the learnings you want. You want to go deep into, I think, like you said it best in the new avatar training, like you want to look at it from the customer's perspective. Like, why do they want to, like, what does it mean to them? Why is it better for them, the script or the video? So always look at it from the customer's perspective rather than my perspective or the brand's perspective. So I think that really helps. So I turn that to Gemini and tend to go deep and not surface level and looking into desires and all that kind of stuff. That really helped with that as well.
Well, you talked about creatives and you mentioned that, you're kind of at the point where that you need to push up some volume, which I would 100% agree with because your hit rate is 50%.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably should be, but obviously, you're fixing some back end stuff, which as you should. And I just think like this is a big note for everybody. If you are scaling your brand, which is what I hope everybody can get to the point of doing, you can't just go full chat. You never go full chat. You can't just keep sending. Like you need to consider the back end. You need to consider the customer experience. You need to consider everything else that's happening. Because as much as I've seen guys scale super hard, I've also seen some guys crash super hard because they just don't know. And so what I also want to just add, and then we're going to get to the creative stuff, is I think this didn't happen. You mentioned you've been in ecom for 5 years. It's like, if this is someone's first rodeo scaling this fast, they probably don't know that, right? And so that's why obviously you coming here with 5 years of experience, being able to share that with someone and they happen to watch this, like that should hopefully save them four years of what you went through to probably learn those lessons, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. With CX as well, one thing that I'll say real quick is that one thing that I learned and is super valuable is if you have like one full-time staff, I'd rather have two part-time staff. And the reason why is you can maybe you pay a little bit extra, but they've already got the training. Right, you've already trained them. So when you need to turn them into a full-time staff, when you do scale, it's way easier. So I'd rather have part-time staff over full-time staff because you can just easily when you do scale, you can easily transition them into full-time and they've already got the training and everything like that, rather than you having to train someone else. So it just shortcuts that a lot more. So having part-time staff is a lot better for CX for sure.
That's super smart.
Yeah.
All right. Creatives. So
Yeah.
how many creatives are you making a week right now? Or like how many were you making before? Or how many are you still making the same amount? How many
Yeah.
creatives are you making a week?
Yeah, so we got like I said, it's just me and one editor in the creative department, which
That's
is
the
kind
days.
of and he's just stacking bonuses right now. When he had bonuses, he's happy. But right now, so he does like a batch a day. It depends. Like if it's we do a mix, right? So we do some mini VSLs and we do like shorter videos. And one thing that we do, right, is that I used to do like we used to create an ad and then we used to test like a bunch of hooks on it. But what I sort of like transitioned to is, especially with the new Andromeda update, like it treats them ads the same. right? I think they're even gonna come out with a reporting as well, I've heard, where you can see like the creative similarity as well between the ads. So what we do is we create a 90-second version of the script, and then what we do is we create a 60-second version of the script, the same messaging, the same angle, just different script. They have different hooks as well, and a 30-second version of the script. So Facebook actually treats them all differently. And what we found before is that when we did just the hook changes, usually one would get the spend and the others wouldn't. But now with this new thing, way we're doing it, usually like two or three, they're all starting to get spend. Because Facebook sees them as different videos. They have like different footages, and it's not too difficult on the editors as well, because the lines, it's not like a completely different messaging or angle. So the clips that they can use is roughly the same, but Facebook sees it as differently because it's entirely different script, different hook, everything like that. So that's one thing that we did that was like super helpful for that. So yeah, like I says, we're doing five. Depends, like I says, if it's a shorter ad, he usually does 2 batches a day, but we usually do about seven batches a week.
7 batches a week, and you scale
Yeah,
to 160K a day,
yeah.
and you're capped.
I took inspiration from the other Spencer, right? That's what he did. Yeah, he does like 5 right a week.
And so, like, this is just what I find so fascinating is because, like, you ever heard the saying, like, when others zig, you zag? I feel like with AI, we're in this world where, like, everybody is just like, like, and somebody smarter than me said this, but like, AI just raises the floor. It's like, so the average person is just going to be better because obviously they have AI, but they're just like pumping out so much stuff and so much crap. And they think like, that's the way to scale. But the truth is again, this is what I love. It would be a Spencer podcast without throwing some kind of like Moseyism in there, but it's like, or Mosey says more, better, right? So more and then or better, ideally more and better, which is what you're working on. But I just feel like with the way that we have seen the guys like use scale, a lot of the times it just has been better first. Like get better at what you're doing first and then scale. You know what I mean? And so the fact that you're making literally an ad a day, and like you said, you have like a 50% hit rate. Like, I mean, how much time are you spending? Because I think this is something that a lot of people are trying to figure out. Like, okay, I know I've got to do research. I think that's kind of pretty general knowledge now. I've got to do research, and then I've got to write the scripts, and then I've got to edit them, right? What is like, if you could try to ballpark it, like, are you doing research every day? Are you doing, are you writing scripts every day? Do you batch write your scripts? Like maybe what does like a day in the life of 160K per day brand owner look like outside of dealing with craziness?
Well, right now it's like it's different to how I would ideally want it to be. Ideally, I want to just focus on research and going through post-purchase surveys and doing learnings on ads, and that's what we're going to get to because we're doing more hires. But right now, when you get to 160K a day, there's like different stuff that you have to put out, right? So now we're getting backup mids and processes and stuff like that because we don't want Stripe to go down, and then opening other PayPal. There's just a bunch of different stuff that you have to do, and that's sort of like I'm getting pulled in other directions at the moment, but I'm still finding the time to do learnings. I think learnings is like to me, I think this is the most important thing. Research, post-purchase surveys, and actually writing the scripts in advance, and that's something that I do want to do more of as well. Like that's something that when I'm fully in this, like all the things are sorted with my other two business partners, then I can just focus fully on like writing like high quality scripts, really spending time on them. Because I think I was speaking to Carlo, right, and shout out Carlo, but basically when you do research, you don't want to write the script then. You want to let it like settle and like incubate for a bit because that's when you get the ideas. So that's something that I do want to start doing as well. So let really the ideas incubate because that's when you have like the breakthrough moments and stuff like that. So yeah, like the day in the life for me is basically everything at the moment and trying to focus as much on marketing as I can, really.
When it comes to your creative process then, because I've never really like gotten deep, and I think this is something that is just interesting because like clearly you're good at writing ads. So I mean, what does your ad writing look like? Are you writing everything by yourself? Are you using AI? Are you going like AI and then cleaning it up after? Or how are you writing the ads?
Yeah. Yeah, so I write the ads myself. I've been copywriting for about 2 years now. I've been through Stefan's mastermind, Alan Sultanic's mastermind as well, fast forward. So I've got like decent chops at copywriting. So that really helps. and go through copywriting books and stuff like that, because you really see how to really sell customers properly and stuff like that. And then I think using AI is super helpful. I think we use Claude, way better than ChatGPT, but we use Claude and we use that to help my scriptwriter. It's actually, I'm not sure I'm saying we, it's literally me, but I use that to write the scripts at the moment. So yeah, definitely using AI to write scripts. I think if you're not using that, I think you're falling behind, because there are people that are using that, but you need to know how to prompt it as well. So you can't just write, "Hey Claude, write me 5 headlines for my product, and here's my product," because it's probably not going to come out with the best stuff. But if you know how to prompt it, I think it can definitely really help, and that's how we're doing it at the moment.
If I could unlock some sauce for you, how if you could provide some direction, how is the right way to prompt it? How do you kind of go about prompting? Are you giving it context? Do you have a like a script writing thing that you use? You don't have to give it away, but what do you kind of do? How do you prompt it right?
Yeah, yeah. So we use projects. So we have like, and this is based on Carlos thing from eCom talent. So we have a project with all our brand stuff, and we prompt it. Some of the things we say is that make sure it sounds natural. We have like a voiceover prompt as well, where make sure it sounds natural. Make sure you use natural voices as well. So we use 11 Labs, where we actually use AI voiceovers as well. We barely got any UGCs at the moment. That's something that I want to do as well. So we literally AI voiceover. That doesn't mean that our clips. One thing that I've told my editors is that you don't want to the proper like stock footage clips. You don't want those, because those just scream fake. So you want to look for more natural clips, and clips that are like similar, right? So if you have like a woman, right, in your ad, and you show a guy as the main person afterwards, it doesn't really match because they're two different genders, and then people automatically know it's fake. So you want to have similar there. So making it telling Claude to make it authentic, make it natural sounding, use natural sounds as well, how people usually speak, and make sure the copy sounds spoken, not written, because usually Claude writes it as written copy, but our voiceover will be spoken as well. And I use 11 Labs as well with I think it's called 11 Labs V3, where you can add like a lot more emotion and voice to it. And when I say use sounds, so then it has like laughs and when it's more anxious, and it just more sarcasm inside it, and it just makes it seem a lot more authentic. And I always say as well, make it more like curiosity, interesting, make it more juicy at the start as well, because I think at the start that's where you really need to get them. After I think you've got them at the start, it's a bit easier for them to watch the whole video. It's usually the hook, and like we call it in copywriting that the lead. That's where you really want to get them. So making it way more curiosity and interesting then is super important. But I think, and biggest thing is, don't just get the script and just pump that into an ad. Really look at that script, put it into a Google Doc. Really look at it. Is there any ways you can improve it, and then create the finalized version.
You mentioned your team, your
Oh,
your big team that you got over
yeah.
there. So far, we understand that you have, I believe, 2 customer service reps, a video editor, and yourself. Now, you did mention you have partners. Is there anybody else that just, I would say, to keep this marketing related, is there
Okay.
anybody else on the marketing team that you guys have that does anything marketing or support? Like, what does that full team look like?
So, are you in marketing? Are you just talking about ad side of things, or are you talking about like emails and the
I
whole
would
thing?
say I would say ads and maybe like anything that helps you scale Facebook ads. So anybody
Okay.
that kind of contributes.
Yeah, so it's just me and one editor. Yeah, I did. That's what I'm saying. I need to hire a new editor. And we've actually got a new editor actually coming with us next week. So I'm super excited about that, because then we're able to pump out more volume. But I don't want to sacrifice the quality as well. So, like, I don't want to just give shit scripts. So that's why before, like in the past, when we was doing 3K a day, we had a bloated team, and it was just a mess, right? We had a creative strategist, we had like 2 or 3 editors. No, I think we had like 3 editors, and then we had like other agencies creating creators for us as well. And then it was just too bloated, where there was no quality behind it. There was no thinking behind the ads. There was no research behind the ads. It was just pumping out ads for the sake of pumping out ads. So that's sort of the mindset shift that I've had as well, like keeping a team lean, and only having like really good people in there, people that are driven, right? People that want to always level up and stuff like that. I think that's sort of the approach I'm going with now. Like A players basically.
So you literally not only did you go better from just an output
Yeah,
perspective, you went better from like so you literally went from agencies and like 5, 6 person team to 2 people and then
yeah,
this happened.
yeah. Yeah, like, my brother's telling me to hire a creative strategist, my partner, and I'm like, I want to fully like understand and fully like really get better at this whole creative strategy thing. Because one thing that you said, I think that was like a super insightful, is that when you hire another creative strategist, don't think of them as replacing you, but it's like in addition to you, right? So if I want to have someone in addition to me, I want to know what I'm doing first. So we're on the same page. So I can't expect a creative strategist to come in and save the business. I gotta do that myself. I think the marketing side of things is just so important. Obviously, the backend stuff for us as well is equally important, because if you don't have like good shipping times or good CX responses or stuff like that, your chargebacks are going to go through the roof, and your basically business shut down. So they're both equally as important, but I think it starts off with the marketing, and then yeah, that trickles everything down.
100%. And I don't know if I said this on Spencer's episode, but when we launched our our program for the guys that were doing your numbers, I'm upselling you live on YouTube. But when we launched that, I just noticed a pattern that like almost every single one of them, just someone at the company was just a world class marketer. Like honestly, like and whether you want to admit it, I'll tell you, like you're a world class marketer. Like you took a brand from 2K a day to basically 200K a day in like 30 days. Like I don't think people like most people in business in general would say there's no way. That's not possible, right? Big PE guys like, all these guys that see these ridiculous like that is just not normal. Like it's just not like it's so hard to comprehend. And so it's like, how was that possible? You're a world-class marketer. Like no matter how you slice it up. And the best part about you, because I know you a little bit better, is just like I know you still think you could be better. Like you probably still don't feel like you're really that good at what you do. But the thing is like you're insane. But having that, I love Sean's analogy is like the white belt mentality is like there's always more to learn. There always is. And I think for you just always, and I think for you now, what's happening is like you're learning through your craft. So it's like, do you need extra outside information? Like, sure, you could. I think sometimes that's helpful, but like you're learning while doing. And like for a lot of times, that's the best way to learn is like you're doing something and you're kind of completing, there's that big word again, your own feedback loops. You know what I mean? And so, and I think that really is, and it's just proof again, like that stuff works. It's not really, we're 40 minutes into talking here and it's like you haven't mentioned one thing about how you spend money on ads and we can talk about that, but it's like that is not what changed it. You probably tried every single media buying strategy in the book. That didn't get you to 150K a day,
Yeah,
but focusing on the marketing did.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on that or anything else you want to hammer home on that point.
Yeah, I think definitely like I think being humble is the biggest thing, because like you said, Sean said, with the white belt mentality, like I always consider myself as a small fish, right? I think one of the biggest things is that once you're doing more volume and more numbers, you're able to connect with more people that are doing like similar or bigger volume. But I think one of the things that keeps me a lot more humble is having friends that are doing way bigger numbers. Like one of my friends right now is doing 500K a day, which is just nuts. Like, and I'm thinking like I'm doing nothing compared to him. So there's still way more room for me to grow. I think if you're like you're doing the most in your friend group, you're basically in the wrong friend group, because you're not going to grow. You're comfortable, right? And Shah Zakaria as well, he messaged me as well, and he says you're doing great, but just make sure you don't get complacent or comfortable. Always be pushing and always be hungry. And I think that's the biggest thing as well. So yeah, always improving, and like you can take advice from anyone, and feedback from anyone. It doesn't matter if they're doing less than you, they're doing more than you. Yeah, I think everyone's got something to say for sure.
How long have you been involved, bro? You've been around for a while, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's been like it's not super long, but I think it's been months. And I joined when?
March, yeah. So 5 or 6 months or something like that. I guess my question to you, because like you clearly are someone that invests in yourself. You said you're like, screw it, I'm not doing YouTube. I'm gonna invest in myself. And maybe I think for some people you need to pay attention. That's something that I've said before. But I think for you, you're just someone that I think is too good to fail. To be honest, you're like, hey, I'm gonna figure it out regardless. So, but I mean, my question with you is like compared to I don't want to I don't want to compare to other e-commerce programs, but I just want to compare like what was kind of your expectation coming in, and then, like, how has it been compared to, like, what you thought you were getting? And then if I can, I'll probably ask one more about what you feel like is the biggest thing that you've learned. Is probably learnings, but for you, like, yeah, like, how has that been? Like, how has it lived up to your expectations?
Yeah. So I knew about Sean before, and we connected. It was ages ago. Like this was like 4 years ago, I spoke to Sean, like, yeah, literally right at the start. I literally look at my DMs. We spoke to each other ages ago, and he had nothing about Evolve or nothing about the agency. I didn't even know there was an agency back then or anything. I don't think I don't even know if there was an agency back then. Probably was though, right?
Infancy.
Yeah, infancy. Yeah, infancy. So yeah, so I came into Evolve thinking, okay, so I was interested in it. I've been in like all sorts of mentorships, like I said, copywriting mentorships, Facebook ads mentorships as well, like people you know, like Charlie, Professor. So I've been in like a ton of because I think like investing in yourself is like if you look at Hormozy, like the SME 500, right? Invest in that. So I think when it coming into Involve, I think the biggest thing for me was it was more e-commerce related. So I've been through the copywriting and mentorships, I've been through the Facebook ads mentorships, but I haven't really gone through like an e-commerce kind of mentorship, right? Where it's not just Facebook ads, but they teach you how to actually create creatives, right? How to actually run the ads, how to actually think about like teams and hiring, and obviously that's different, but like that's the main thing that pulled me towards Evolve. And I think the biggest thing that kept me in was the community as well, and the weekly calls were super helpful as well. Like yeah, and having access to you and Sean is like super helpful because if any questions like that call that I jumped on probably has the biggest ROI you can ever get, right? If you think about it. I think it was like a half an hour call or something like that. That's like biggest ROI ever.
The truth is like you took all the action, and I hate, I even just hate asking like what people think about Evolve, because it's like at the end of the day I feel like you were gonna figure this out either way. I feel like maybe we just said like we maybe helped you figure it out faster, but again, like that's kind of the point of like why you're in this stuff is just like, hey, what are the pitfalls that I can avoid? But the fact that, there's so many people that I think consume information but then don't really do much with it, you know what I mean? And so it's like you got that information and like you didn't think about it for a couple of months or feel bad about yourself. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna figure this out, And so I think your ability to just like honestly knowing you and like knowing how you do things the right way. Honestly, there's nobody that I'm like I was rooting for you to figure this out, but like I had no idea that you were gonna figure it out like this. Like I would have pitched equity on that. Oh, if I would have known this was happening, bro. Kind of going back onto, your growth, because this is obviously about you. I'm curious, man. You mentioned your buddy doing 500K a day. Where do you see the business scaling come Black Friday? Because we're getting closer, around a month away. Have you done some projections? What are you looking at? What kind of numbers are you trying to hit?
I think we definitely do at least 250, and that I'm playing safe right there, like conservative 250, because like it says, I'm capped by spend at the moment, and we're getting a bunch of inventory coming through as well. So I think 250, 300K. Expect a screenshot in the chat, right?
Better
Yeah,
see it, man. Better see it. And just for context, per day.
yeah, per day.
It's just it's just crazy because like, dude, you like, and I think when we expand the number out, it's like 2K
Oh
per
yeah,
day seems like a lot.
oh yeah,
I'm from this frame where it's like 2K per day, honestly, for me seems like quite a bit of money, but like
yeah,
that's 60K.
yeah,
Like that's 60K a month. You know what I mean? And it's
yeah.
like now you're doing, if you wake up and you don't see 60K,
Oh yeah.
you're like, what's going on?
It's obviously way more rewarding, doing a lot more scale, but it can also be way more stressful because if there's like one little glitch or one little thing, that's gonna cost you so much more in terms of, money. You just gotta be on the ball, always checking your website, make sure there's no glitches, make sure there's no issues, make sure there's no holds. And yeah, I think just you have to be way more vigilant at this scale for sure. You'll make sure it doesn't come down. And I think, like I said, I gotta focus on the main things, which is gonna be the creatives and learnings. I think the landing page we have is pretty good now, so I don't think I always want to focus on like the bottlenecks, like not even like the bottlenecks, but like the things that are going to give me the biggest improvements. So the landing page to me is like performing really good. So I'd rather focus on the creatives and okay, the creative scripts are good, so I'd rather focus on quantity. Like the quantity is a bottleneck at the moment, so always looking out for that bottleneck and fixing that. I think is huge.
I've got honestly 2 final questions for you, man. If someone is stuck at, let's say, 60K a month or 100K a month, or, when we look at a lot of people in Evolve, and obviously they see your story, and I think, again, just having those limiting beliefs broken, like when people, even if people watch this and you're like, hold on a second, this guy went from, I think you were actually even doing less. I think we're rounding out the 2K. We're at like 1.2K or something
Yeah, I
like
think it
that.
was, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so you went from 1.2 to, for just the sake of a 100x to 120 per day. It's like if someone is stuck at, 60K a month or, 2K a day, or if we round up to 150 to 200K per month, and maybe, they want to scale further. Cause I think that's the other thing. Some people want to scale, but they don't know, like, maybe they don't want to scale to 150K. So we'll have that conversation in a couple of months to see where you're at. But my point is like if someone's plateaued, they're kind of in your position, like what is your kind of advice? Like what would you recommend they do? Like should they try to figure it out themselves? I think that worked for you, but what do you think, like what kind of advice would you have for someone in that position?
Yeah, I would definitely see. Okay, so if you're in the position of like similar to where I was, where you're just making ads and ads and ads and ads and nothing's working for like months at a time, the worst thing you can do is just keep making ads because insanity is basically doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? So you're basically going insane. So what I would say is that look at your the landing page, and that's what was the biggest thing for me. Focus on improving your landing page if your conversion rate is bad. Obviously, conversion rate is relative to your AOV. So if you have like a super low AOV, you should be having a way higher conversion rate, right? Obviously, depending on offers as well. But look at your landing page, improve that, and then based on that, then going into your creators, back into your creators, and then you would find that you're suddenly hitting a lot more ads, winning ads. And even if you find one that sort of works, sort of doesn't going deep into it. Okay, why did this work? Why did this sort of work then? And then coming out with a test or a hypothesis that I think this worked because of this, and then create a new ad around that. But I think if you're not hitting winning ads, I think a lot of people do say that just keep creating ads, which is sort of what I was doing. But then I sort of switched it and focused on the landing page instead, and made it way more simpler, way more branded, way more easier, and then suddenly creators just become easier because like a 3.5-4% conversion rate, like you're gonna hit a lot more winning ads, and then now you can focus on more learnings and then hit even more winning ads, right? It just becomes like a flywheel.
100%. I think what you said, you answered my first question, which was how do you improve it? And like you said, just kind of simplify it down, give people the information that they need to know, make it clear on the page, like this is what we do. This, like you just really, I would say, you think simplifying it is the right way to put it? Simplify it down. And then from there, on the creative side, I think one thing that, I would just want to confirm, like you said, you were just kind of in this rut. And, to your point, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting something to be different, you're going to go insane. And so what I think a lot of people want to do, because I want to really emphasize this for anybody that's actually made it this far, is like, you do have to still make ads. It's the way that you make ads that needs to change. Like if, like you said, you were just doing this, you were making the same ads, doing the same, like over and over and over again. So it's like, yes, you will go insane if you do that, but that doesn't mean, oh, ads don't work, let me just go do media buying now. It means you need to find a better way to do the ads, right? Or a different way to do the ads. And so I think what you did, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like that you just kind of, you slowed down to kind of go fast. You're like, okay, I need to figure out why my ads aren't working, and why they are working if they do get direction, or how they could be better, right? Is that fair to say? And then I would say the only other thing, because you mentioned why is this working, and we say that to people all the time. But one thing that I've said to, I just had a call yesterday with a guy involved as well, as I said, like, instead of thinking why is this ad working, just flip it on the side. And you actually mentioned this earlier. Why would someone care about this? You know, flip it to the customer perspective and say, like, why would someone stop on this? What is in this specifically? Like, what am I saying that people care about? Right? Like, those are the things that I feel are the most important to understand. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what you did. You kind of figured out why someone would care. Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's literally the because if you look at it from the because at the end of the day, it's the customer buying it, not you, right? So if you look at it from the customer's perspective, like why do they care about this? At the end of the day, you want to understand the customer, and with ads, you want to have relatability. That's the whole point of your scripts. You want to relate to them, and that was all through obviously your avatar training, which is like really good. I'm still going through it, but you want to be, you want to relate to the customer, and that's like the biggest thing. And if you relate to the customer, you need to know, okay, why did the customer care about that ad, or what did they find that really worked well in that ad? right? So that's huge.
I've got one final question, man. Is there any other thoughts that you want to share? Any other like little bombs you want to drop? You know, some game that you could use some sauce you got? Like you got anything else, man? Because I think I've racked your brain as much as I could. Anything else you want to share, dude?
No, but I think our media buying we slightly do differently. So our media buying strategy is now I have to caveat that that wasn't the thing that because we was doing this the whole time because that wasn't the thing that where first from 1.2K from to where we are now. But I think if, for us specifically, it really helps because now we're capped up. Like we can't do inventory and like we don't have enough CX staff, so it really helps with that. So we do like target ROAS entirely. So we used to do cost caps and bid caps. We also did auto bids. So we do target ROAS entirely, and we it's literally simple CBOs. You set your target ROAS, and say if your target is a 2, I usually set it a bit higher because target ROAS is a bit more, it's an average, right, compared to bid caps. So set it like a 2.5, 2.6, usually good, and just pumping ads into there. And if it spends on them, it will spend. If it doesn't spend, it won't spend if it's not a good performer. And the biggest thing, I think one of the biggest things I had before coming into Evolve as well is like, if I've got ads that are like, have it, all the social proof, the why are my new ads going to spend more than them? And like it's totally wrong because like every 2 days a new ad's just taking over the top, right? So it's like limiting brief broken for sure. But yeah, that's the way we do ads, and like that's not gonna help the business, but for us, it made it like it's more controllable in a way, and we can launch a lot more ads, and our ROAS is pretty good as well at the moment. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah,
Gotham, brother, you are the man. I just like I'm like trying to like I said, this is one of the craziest case studies I've ever seen for like just ecom in general. Not nothing to do with Evolve, just like what you have done is absurd, man. And like honestly, I don't even know what the limit is for you because I know
yeah,
that you're literally capped by your ability to just keep up with stuff right now.
yeah,
And I know that you know how much stuff I mean, you have one editor, you just brought
yeah,
on another one,
yeah,
you're barely doing UGC, so all those people are like, "Oh, I need UGC to scale."
yeah,
It's like, dude, you've just got clips that you know what I mean? And so, like,
yeah,
what you've done is just phenomenal, dude, and, like,
yeah,
take a second, I'm sure you haven't, but take a second to, like, I don't know, drink some whiskey or I
yeah,
don't know what you guys
yeah,
do out in the UK, but, smoke a cigar,
yeah,
be incredibly proud of yourself, bro, because like,
yeah, yeah,
what you've done is not normal, and that's what makes it so cool, and obviously, that's why I had to drag you on here to pick your brain and talk about it because that's all our goal is like, how can we understand, what elite ecom brand owners like you
yeah,
do? And I honestly appreciate because you don't have to share this. You don't have to jump on. I'm sure you got better ways to spend your
yeah,
Friday night. I'm sure as you
yeah,
knowing you, you're probably going to be
yeah,
responding to tickets after.
yeah, exactly.
But that's
That's
part of
like,
the game.
yeah,
Sacrifices, man. But
yeah,
dude, I appreciate you so much, man.
yeah,
Thank you for jumping
likewise.
on. It was great to chat. And for anybody else watching, I hope they got value. And again, I appreciate you being so open and being willing to share it.
Perfect. Thanks, Spencer. It was super helpful. I think it was a really good call for sure.